Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mic check. Can you hear me, Asmo? Good. Heading to Disneyland. Jeez. Nice, John. I'm going to Disneyland. You just won. What is it? You just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next? I'm going to Disneyland. Isn't that like one of the first memes, basically? Hey, Anani. How you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, John, I'm a little jealous, right? Disneyland's fun, but also got to deal with all the people there. Man, the last time I was there, someone tried to pick a fight with me because I asked them to not cut in front of us very politely. Like, we were walking hand in hand, my family, so we wouldn't get separated. My wife holding her hand, she's holding my son's hand. We're walking through crowds, very, like, in a straight line. And this person, like, cut right through our line of hands, like, between my son and my wife, cut them off. Like, instead of walking around them, walked right through them. And, like, we weren't taking up a whole sidewalk. We were in, like, the road area. And it was, like, crazy to me. I said, excuse me, why did you just do that? And I was like, you know, you didn't have to cut my family in half walking through them. You could have very easily walked around. I don't understand this. And the guy got uppity. It was crazy. Like, I just asked him, like, why did you do this exactly? It was very concerning. Like, it seemed like almost like he was trying to pick our pockets or do something sketchy, you know? Anyway. But yeah, that was my last time at Disneyland. That same day, I saw a young child, toddler, probably 2, 3, have a mental breakdown in Adventureland. My dude was freaking out because I think he wanted, like, a balloon. And the parents wouldn't get him one. And so he laid down on the hot concrete and put his face down on the concrete. It had to have been like 110 that day. And he was screaming and crying. When his face came up, it was all red. Goodness, this poor kid. Anyway, it was quite an adventure. I hope you have fun. Stay safe. Remember where you parked. You know, all that good stuff. How's everyone doing today? How was your weekend? It is Labor Day in the United States today, so it's a holiday. A lot of people are out and about, usually at the lake or the beach and hiking, you know, usually just out enjoying nature on a day like this or with family. Hey, Mondu. Honestly, like, I enjoy Disneyland for the concept, but I also think it's kind of starting to get aged. It's starting to show wear and tear. It's starting to look more like a carnival in some areas than it is like a modern age place. So, I don't know. It seems like every time I've gone in recent memory, something's always broken. A few rides are broken or having problems, and things look kind of cheap and old now, whereas, like, you know, if they went through and like remastered a few areas or like updated them, what do they call it, renovate, probably look good. Hey Chim, how you doing? How's everyone's Monday going thus far? Today we will be continuing work on this section here in the in the sardine can of graves. Steam chat is not up yet on my end. Let me see if I can see why. Oh, I see why. Yep, I know why it's wrong. Give me 1 second. For some reason, I set the time it started as 9 p.m. I guess I didn't check from AM to PM. So it's like not sure when it starts way later today, so it doesn't recognize there's a stream. I'm gonna fix that 1 second. I'm gonna create another event and delete the first one. It might take a moment for Steam to verify this new event, but at least it exists. Okay, so the new event will start. It had to be a couple of minutes from now. It can't start right in the same moment. So I set it for 9:10. If the stream hasn't come up by 9, there, it just went up. It just went up. That fixed it. There we go. Okay, we're good there. Hey, Polaris, how you doing, my friend? Just a quick reminder, everyone, we are multi-streaming right now on multiple platforms. I would have a multi-chat feed up so everyone could follow along with chat on each platform, but sadly, Twitch does not allow that. It's against their terms and conditions, so I have to talk to you all individually like I have voices in my head and I might be going crazy. So if you see me talking and you're like, who is he talking to? It's probably someone on another chat feed. Anyway, sorry for the inconvenience. I do see it now, so at least something's there. But thank you for saying something. So now I need to figure out what I'm going to do in these sections here. I wanted to add a bit more light to some of these long areas here and like these little corner spaces. Overall, though, the lighting is looking really good. I wanted to add a few more hedges on this side right there. And then I'm going to go through and put like decorations on the graves, like people leaving, signs of remembrance. Thank you, Mandu, for confirming. Anani, sorry, I wasn't trying to put any pressure. It was more or less just reminding people who may, be working on it that the deadline's coming up. So just, redouble your efforts, so to speak. If you plan on entering or submitting an entry in the Garden Dam Challenge channel, it should be relatively soon. I am a bit worried because we only have the one entry so far, and there's only 4 days left. But usually the last few days we get a lot of entries, so no worries. So for those just tuning in, my name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility available on Steam. It allows you to build maps in a snap for your tabletop gaming campaigns such as D&D or Pathfinder. Additionally, it is a great immersion tool. You can record screenshots or video from various perspectives, including first person or a cinematic drone camera. which allows you to capture various aspects of your maps that you wouldn't normally be able to see in top-down, and you can use those as a handout for your players, which I find is very immersive and helpful, especially if you have a player who may not have, like, an amazing mind's eye and sees things, you know, a little bit differently. You're funny, Anani. Yeah, you know, Chim, I'll probably start saying where the chat's from or where the question's from. Hey, we got people in chat over on Steam. It's a miracle. Oh, wait, it's Mondu and Atlam. I'm just kidding. Well, I guess let's finish off lighting and then move on to, like, grave decor, right? And I'm going to continue trying to use these lights because, oops, that's an iron wrought fence. Trying to decide where would be a good spot for this lamp. I guess right there is okay. And I could put like some shrubs or plants here. Let's look at some nature. Halloween's coming up in, you know, 2 full months. It'll be basically September by the time it comes around. But yeah, plan ahead. Thinking something like this. Then I can put a couple of them together. It's like a little plant there. Once it's approved by the big bosses. Oh, that's not cosplaying, that's just a hat. So the devs just got back in the office. They're doing a few things, but I'm going to have a meeting with them soon. That sit down is when I'm going to discuss the final kind of details of that plan and hopefully get it approved. It's a combination of getting the plan approved and getting expenditures approved. If that happens, then yeah, we will likely be having some sort of costume streams. So, you know, things like Bob Ross, the Dungeon Alchemist. I might even look into like an augmented reality skin so I could look like Hendrix sometimes. Maybe even do a voice changer or something. I don't know. It's kind of tentative at the moment, but it sounds fun and I want to do it. Mac the Necromancer? Interesting. Maybe. What is your favorite D&D class or Pathfinder class? Let's ask everyone here in chat. See what they think. Thank you for the like, Lothak. Appreciate it. right. Well, as a DM, you still have to have classes you like. Just because you don't play that much doesn't mean you don't like a class, you know, or can't have a preference for one. I'm sure you find some things your players do hilarious, or that there's a player whose class constantly does something you find interesting or maybe shines above others. That being said, I would love to hear everyone's insights on that. Artificer is a fun class for sure. It's one of my favorites as well. I've spent a unreasonable amount of time theory crafting Artificer builds. My two favorite classes are Artificer and Wizard. I could keep just doing shrubs through these, so it's like a big full out area instead of statues, because I feel like alternating statues would get weird really quick. So I'm probably just going to fill these spaces up. Benches won't work there, so it has to be something like this. What is this game, Owen? This is called Dungeon Alchemist, just like the channel name. It's a map making utility available on Steam, and it allows you to build maps for your tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons. So it's more of a tool than it is a game. It's a utility that allows you to essentially build settings for games. So I liken it to kind of like Sims meets Baldur's Gate. All you do is really make maps that are intended for a fantasy setting. Oh, and you still there? Like how they asked me a question and then immediately disappeared before I even had a chance to read. Oh, there you are. Yay! Good. I'm glad you're here. So the view feed for TikTok showed that you left, and I was like, what? What? I'm glad you're here. So yeah, basically it's a tool available on Steam. We offer a free demo, so you can go try it out, see if it runs on your computer. But if you play games like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, it's a very useful tool. Otherwise, it's very fun to just build maps. It's relaxing, kind of a fun mood and aesthetic. I find it to be a very cathartic experience. So it's really just a matter of preference. I'm sorry, what? Ampersand? Kangaroo? Quittist? What does that mean? By the way, everyone, what is? Ah, good to know. Good to learn some Latin. So Dungeon Alchemist, as I just said, is a map making tool available on Steam, and it allows you to build maps for games like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder. It's essentially just a very cool map making tool filled with thousands of objects, room types, walls, windows, doors, floors, and you can even place tokens in the map to explore it and take pictures and screenshots. You could even stream this view to your players if you play D&D, so you could stream it to them like over Discord or Zoom or Teams. And then they can, you know, see what it would be like to look at the map through their eyes. Because typically when you play games like D&D, it's a top-down experience. Uh-oh, one moment. This will take a second. This is a rather large map. So as you can see here, this is the first-person view of this map. I can kind of walk around the cemetery, check it out, look at the graves. Take pictures if I wanted to. The moon in the background's pretty fun. A neat little skybox. But this map, I've been building it for several months now, and I only work on it about an hour a week. Yeah, it can show grids, and our maps export for print. They export for TV tabletop, projector tabletop, or the majority of all the popular virtual tabletops. So our maps export for like Foundry, Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, etc., where you can add grids to them there. But if you want, you can add the grid right inside. There's grid tools within the settings menu. So you have both a square and a hex grid that you can manipulate. You can change the color of the grid. You can change the transparency, or I guess opacity in this case. You can render the grid on top of everything, so it's on top of every object instead of just on top of the environment and under the objects. Very cool. It's also great to have grid tools so you can kind of get an idea of the size and scope of your map. When you see my grid, it's like, this map is huge. It's 85 by 82. So, Owen, you would make a map in Dungeon Alchemist, right? And then you export the map for your play style of choice. So, do you play in person? If you play in person, you may want to print the map or export it digitally for a TV or a projector tabletop. Because nowadays, a lot of people who play at home use a digital tabletop surface. Additionally, you can play online with our maps. You export the map for your platform of choice. Let's say you play Dungeons and Dragons through Foundry or Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds. Our maps export directly for those services. It includes all the data for lighting, walls, doors, windows, line of sight, etc. So it helps you essentially create the fog of war reference for your maps automatically when you export it to a virtual tabletop that we're compatible with. Some people in our community use Dungeon Alchemist to play in directly, but it doesn't support online or multiplayer, as it's a map-making tool and an immersion utility. But if you're playing in person on a TV tabletop, you could easily project this right to the TV in a top-down mode with the grid on, without the interface, and use it as a play surface. So you could put a token in it and have your players walk around, you know, because if you're playing in person, you essentially either have a token right on top of the TV or, you know, you move it for them. So when you play games like Dungeons and Dragons, there's a lot of aspects of preparation, right? For a DM, the average DM spends about 5 to 10 hours preparing for a roughly 3 to 5 hour session. So some DMs, they'll do things like they focus on storytelling and creating like loot tables and you know, focus on the NPC characters they're creating. Others want beautiful maps and sound effects and interactivity. It just all depends on how you enjoy playing, but the tool that Dungeon Alchemist allows you to build maps in a fraction of a moment. If you want to, you can generate entire maps in moments, or you can even download maps from our Steam Workshop repository. Our community has shared over 12,400 maps, and they're all free to download for anyone who owns a copy of Dungeon Alchemist. So you could download a map and just use that for your gameplay, so you don't even have to make a map if you didn't want to. There's thousands available that can help you, you know, essentially progress your campaign. If I had to pick a favorite subclass, yes, Sir Guy, you can. This particular map we're looking at, though, is a legacy map, which was made before our last update, which released July 10th. And because the map was started before then, multi-level has to be done by hand, i.e. like I built this tower. It's a 3-story tower, but everything over this level here is objects. These are walls that are objects that I put in by hand. So it's a little bit more difficult in an older map. But new maps, brand new maps, you can generate multi-level structures in moments. Here, I'm going to save this and show you. My favorite subclass for Artificer is Battlesmith. I love the Steel Defender, and I think it's a fun little character addition. But the Battlesmith being kind of part medic, part soldier, I really enjoy. technically, Sir Guy, a couple years ago, you could have easily just built your second floors by hand. But yeah, it does take a little bit more time. It wasn't ever a limitation so much as it just required a bit more effort, a little bit more elbow grease, so to speak. But let's say you wanted to generate a multi-story structure, right? I'm going to just generate a little wonky house here in the middle of the forest. You can shape it, the floor plan. You can, add round or bite, like convex or concave bites, or even diagonal cuts into your buildings. You can rotate them. You can raise and lower them all before you generate them, okay? So just keep that in mind. And then if you generate it, oops, I have all this unchecked. My bad. Let me regenerate this. You can tell the AI to generate a structure as just floors, or just floors and walls, have doors, windows. So you can essentially guide the AI to generate with nothing or with everything. And then here, let me regenerate the structure. We'll get our first floor of a wonky house. If you press up over here or use the plus key, you can then go up to another level and generate a new floor. So essentially, you just keep going up and up, and the only limitation on how many floors you can build is how powerful your computer is. So if you have a computer that's a bit of a potato, it may struggle. And this is our first iteration of roofing, so there is some quirkiness to it. Like little areas like this where water might gather, and in the real world that'd be a problem, but in a fantasy world it's usually not an issue. You know what I mean? It in fact adds a bit of quirkiness to the build. But later on, roofing will get more articulate and detailed. In fact, the algorithm for the roofing to generate roofing around structures was designed custom by our lead dev. It's basically only a handful of people in the world know how to use this algorithm correctly. And this is the first instance of it being used to make roofing. Yeah, upper floors you can generate in moments, as you just saw me do. No need for workarounds anymore, unless you open an old map that you want to edit an old map. So if you had an old map that you insist on editing, then yeah. Or if you download one from the workshop, then yeah, you'll need workarounds. But if you just start a new map, then you're fine. You can see that took me moments to make a multi-level structure. Oh, and yeah, the maps can be exported to your platform of choice. Can you export maps where? But if you look here, you can export for a variety of different options, whether it's a digital, image or a video, or you want to export it for print locally or through our printing partner, Kraken Wargames. You can export it for the UVTT format called Universal VTT, which dozens, if not hundreds, of virtual tabletops now use. You can use it with these 4 major virtual tabletop companies: Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, and above VTT. We offer direct exports for all of those. And then the ones below are more universal options. Thank you for all the likes and stuff. Appreciate it, y'all. Oh, no, our maps don't export as a 3D model. No. They export as a traditional top-down image that's either flattened or has a 3D perspective. At no point do we really plan to offer 3D exports because A, the amount of detail required to export a 3D model like this, the file would be insanely huge. I'm assuming you want to like 3D print it or maybe use it for video game design. Several reasons we don't offer 3D export. One, we are very protective of our IP and all our work around our assets. So we don't want to just give those away willy-nilly. Secondly, Dungeon Alchemist wasn't designed with 3D printing or 3D export in mind, so essentially it would have to be redesigned from the ground up to cater to that. The intention of Dungeon Alchemist is to create beautiful maps in a 3D environment so you can see all the details and all the angles, and then you export them in a top-down for play, either in a flattened or a a kind of a 3D perspective. Now, that being said, you can also go in with the cinematic or drone cameras, I call it, or the first person cameras to take screenshots, video to use as handouts, or to give them to your players to use as they choose. So as it stands, it's very well rounded for gameplay in a tabletop setting, but it's not designed for any 3D export. In fact, if we like enabled 3D export in its current state, all the assets that export would be lacking detail such as texture, color, and stuff like that. The majority of the assets in Dungeon Alchemist use what basically smoke and mirrors. They're very simple shapes like cylinders or squares or cubes, stuff like that, with very detailed, intricate texture mapping on it. Kind of think of like a wall with a beautiful painting on it or a wallpaper texture. It looks way more detailed than it is, but it's really flat. Does that make sense? So if you were to export it, it'd be just a bunch of gray, simple shapes with no detail, no effects, etc. And that's because we just didn't design it with that intention. Angelo, the next year we can expect part 2. Part 2 we're hoping to offer before year's end. That's the kind of timeline at the moment, but that is subject to change. Part 2 also should be much faster of a release than part 1 of Fun with Objects, because most of the technical, difficult aspects of Fun with Objects have been sussed out and dealt with in our development. I.e. multi-level and roofing was a really difficult technical aspect of the development and took some time. The hope is before the end of the new year. I don't know exactly, though, if that timeline is still relevant, or, just kind of stay tuned to our social media and our streams. When we have a date, we'll let you know. But, Sergei, are you still there? Or is it Sergey? Is it Sergey? I hope I haven't been pronouncing your name wrong. You should look on the Steam Workshop. So under, this tab here in Dungeon Alchemist, and go to Browse, right? And you could sort by most recent. The majority of the new maps are all multi-level supported. Look at this arena. Open this map and take a look. So Gary, at the moment, I stopped building because I was answering questions and showing off multi-level because we had a few questions about it. These streams are hosted AMA format, which means ask me anything. So as long as it's a Dungeon Alchemist related AMA, I will drop what I'm doing and answer the question, whether it's support or just, someone has a feedback or a suggestion, or, someone's generally inquiring about Dungeon Alchemist because they've never heard of it before or want to learn more about it. Now, that being said, I am working on a massive cemetery. Hey, Rev, appreciate you being here, bud. Hey, I had another idea for you. Rev, before you take off. You know how you're wanting to teach people and advertise your business? I recommended the library last time. You should check out your local rec center too, because often you can sign up to do classes there and teach courses. So you might be able to sign up to do a cartography or map making tabletop gaming course. Man, this map is beautiful though. But this is another great example of multi-level in action. Multi-level really is, all the tricks you had to make it work in the past are a thing of the past, and now you can make whatever you want, for the most part. Let's get back to my work in progress, in fact, the ancient cemetery. I can't see Magnum Opus now without thinking of Mad Max, the video game. So for those that aren't aware, in the Mad Max video game, he kind of pairs with this guy and he helps him build his car called the Magnum Opus. It's kind of a big point of the story. A technical level is difficult. Add the option change the color of video effects or terrains. I'm not sure what you mean there, Angelo. I'm assuming you want to know if it's possible to do that. I mean, you can change the time of day rather quickly, and you also have lighting filters, so you can change the environment to be, you know, slightly different colored on a whim. So these really help quite a bit to change the mood or environmental lighting. Hey, Lauren Zader, welcome back. I'm a big fan of the Mad Max kind of universe. And so, yeah, the Mad Max game was a definite buy for me. By a different style, what do you mean, Sergey? It seems crazy to me that someone trying to survive in a wasteland where there's like a constant scarcity of supplies and gasoline would be driving around in a V8. But I think that's part of the reason Mad Max appeals to the American audience so much. If you want to make it cartoonish or pencil, you would have to do filters after the fact in post. So nowadays you can take almost any photo and run it through a photo filter online in a matter of moments to change it. There's blueprint filters, you know, hand drawing filters, sketch filters, stuff like that. So you would run the image through a filter or through a photo editor to make that adjustment. Maybe in time we might offer filters, but right now that's not the case. You're trying to build a scene on a multi-level ship surrounded by water. Do you have the map's DAM file handy, the DAM file? Because if you could share that with me in our Discord, then I could open it and take a look and probably be a little bit more helpful in that regard. I will say this, a multi-level ship will take some doing. But it is possible. That being said, though, because we don't have a native ship builder in Dungeon Alchemist yet, the ship may not necessarily look as beautiful as you intend as a ship shape, because a lot of our room shaping tools don't necessarily make, you know, ship angles. Does that make sense? But it's possible. That said, if you give me a bit, we'll take a look. Let me do a little bit of work on this, and then we'll do some each out. Yeah, that too. I mean, with ships in general, what a lot of people will do is they use an object as the actual ship for their players, and then the interior space is a separate map that is represented by, you know, a deck on top. You know, the below deck areas as separate scenes or maps. But it is possible to build a multi-level ship map, and I've seen a few of them on the workshop as of late. In fact, there was one just yesterday. Where is it? This one right here. So this is like a ship that they shaped using the room tools. Me personally, when I look at that, it kind of looks boxy, and so I'm not a big fan of that at the moment. Our next update will include kind of the first iteration of our what we call the shipyard internally, which allows you to build ships from different parts. You kind of slap them all together and make a custom ship. Let me see here. Trying to figure out what to do with the lighting in these areas where it's like really dark. Like I could put a little lamp on the corner here that would help in this corner. Or I could even face it inward. Like anywhere there's a corner, kind of just face it inward. Could help a little bit. Not many. One moment, Garth. I'm going to open up a map. We'll take a look here. New map. Let's go to grasslands and we'll set it to island. And we'll set it with hills. We'll just do no vegetation. See if I can find an image of kind of the shipyard in action. I did have some before, but I deleted them when they weren't going to be part of this update. So I just kind of was like, yeah, I don't want to be showing things that aren't around anymore, you know? Yeah, unfortunately, I deleted those teasers when it was told to me that we were no longer going to be releasing that in the last update, so I didn't hold on to it. Sorry about that. But back to building a ship. Here we have a little island. In fact, let's spruce it up, make it a quick desert island. Put a little oasis in the center, and we've got ourselves a desert island. Okay. Now, to add a ship to the side, I'm just going to use the room tool. And depending on how you want to shape your tool, to shape your room, you're going to want to use the room tool in that regard. So there's a lot of different room options. Probably one that's wood would be the best bet, as it would generate most everything with what you want. So you could probably do like a farmstead. If it's like a kobold ship, a wonky house would probably be nice. But anyway, or a cabin even would have like log timbers. Next, you would go into the AI settings, disable objects, probably windows and doors because you're making a ship, not a building. You can't change the necrotic fog colors. No, period. Each effect is a technical effect that's designed from scratch. It's not something we can just change a decimal switch and change the color. They're all custom made, so no. We offer different colored fogs for different ones. You know, if you want yellow necrotic fog, put some yellow fog and some necrotic fog together. It's about the best I can offer you for right now. But there's no color changing tools in here, so clearly there's no way to do it. We wouldn't hide it in another menu. It would be part of this if it was available. But each of these are like very specific effects. Part of the reason effects are all different colors and designs is so you have more options. Additionally, effects don't loop perfectly because they're not set to loop like regular assets that are animated would. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to export your map as an animated map, you may not be happy with the overall effect there. Okay, back to the shipbuilding, because I'm getting questions. So what I would probably do is sink it just like the littlest bit into the water, right? And then you could start generating bites like this if you want to do like a trireme type point at the end, right? Or you could do... you do like a bump or something like this. And remember, the weirder shape the structure is, the more you can do with it. So if you have something like this, you know, it kind of has like... oh, never mind. Don't want to use that. So you could start making all these intricate shapes and stuff as the ships kind of point. But keep in mind, they're not going to be like a perfect ship point. You may run into issues here and there. So, you know, it's going to have that fantasy aesthetic to a bit where some parts aren't necessarily perfect or exactly as you want, you know? Then you generate your first floor. And the reason I just did floors and walls is that way I don't have to spend a ton of time sunk it. Nope, I shouldn't have raised it. Here, let's raise it up. Or I shouldn't have sunk it at all. And then we kind of have the base foundation of our floor, which we could change into some wood here, which would make it a lot more believable that this is a ship, right? For decking. And you can go up another level and add, instead of a ceiling, right? I would erase the roof and then just do like a floor, another room, because then each level is flooring instead. That makes sense. Hey, Glitchson, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to provide assistance. Now, this stuff here, where it's kind of got that little bit of land around it, buildings have to have land around them like a foundation. So that's the other downside of building a ship out of land, right? Or I mean, out of rooms. But you can bring this in really tight to it using the terrain tool. If you just do lower terrain, it'll come in really, really seamed to it, and it looks really deep around it. Another thing you can do, and this is a neat little trick, if instead of, like, say, the bottom floor of it could be underwater and just be like a tiny little square that you cover with like a rock, and then you can raise up some dead floors above it. Watch this. Yeah, Glitchson, we do offer a 3D asset importer, so you can import custom 3D models directly into Dungeon Alchemist, and it's supported with the Steam Workshop as well. Our community imports their own assets and then shares them if they choose. You could keep your assets local for your own personal use, or you can share them to enrich the community, which has grown by over 10,000 assets because of that. So you have both options. Can you share him the wiki entry for importing assets, Atlam? Let me try one thing to do a ship. I've never done this before, so I want to see if it's possible. See how we're down like 2 floors, right? I'm going to just start building the ship as a single square, right? But I'm going to do it down here. Watch what I'm doing. This will be important in a moment. Maybe not. Darn it. Try this one more time. Man, I was hoping to do the floating building thing. There's this trick where you could put like a square. I guess we could do it over here. Watch. If you put a building somewhere, right? Then you could put a rock on it, or just hide it with some shrubs or something, right? In this case, I'm just going to put like a mossy rock right here. Now I can go up a level, right? And I can delete this roof. And now that I'm on this level, I can generate a structure that has no floor below it. But what I'm going to want to do, oh, you can't lower it. No, it'll be a floating ship. Let's see what it looks like. Yep, it's way above. Yep, that's what I'll do. You're right. This is a new technique I'm trying to figure out as we go. So I'm going to lower this floor down, right? Generate that. We now have this weird pit that's completely useless, but we're just going to cover it with a large rock, okay? Heck, we can even probably sink it into the ground a little bit. It looked like part of the environment. And now we can build up. And now this will... Nope. Yeah, I messed it up. I don't think this will work. Man, I was hoping to find a solution for that. Personally, in my experience, I am more a fan of using objects as ships and then using the interior scenes as like separate rooms in another map that I built on like dark parchment biome. Now, that being said, like I said, you have the shipbuilder. You can come over, or I mean, the shipbuilder in the next update will be around at some point. Or you can kind of play around with editing the shapes of these structures until it becomes something that you enjoy as a ship. But the problem is it is kind of limited in what you can shape. Hey, Primal, how you doing? Welcome back. Wow, 1,200 hours in Dungeon Alchemist? That's impressive. If anyone else has any other feedback, hey, Deathlock, how you doing? If anyone else has any other feedback or suggestions for shipbuilding, I'm all ears. I haven't built many ships myself, so it's not an area of personal expertise. But I usually, when I want to do a ship, I'll just go download one from the workshop, and then I'll make interior spaces on a new map that is in dark parchment, because technically you would just be inside where they focus on the interior spaces of like captain's quarters or the cannon, you know, area below decks, or where there's like a, you know, like a mess hall or something, you know? Yes, Primal, it's called the map tracing feature right here. So if you click on this tab, you can import an image. And then you can adjust the transparency. Dang, John Mack, that's awesome. That's really cool. You know, Destiny, honestly, that is kind of a gray area. I will say this. Remember that, like, Wizards of the Coast and Pathfinder, they usually have kind of an open-ended license for, you remember the OGL fiasco where they were going to change the OGL license a few years ago and it caused a lot of problems, right? So they have an open OGL license that allows you to, you know, make products for both resale and for personal use, okay? Now, if you're doing it for resale, you have to go through like an application process and follow their rigorous like verification and stuff like that. But if you're just putting it up for public use without a resale intention, i.e. you're sharing it without, you know, as just like art, without, you know, trying to make a profit off of it, my understanding is their license is very open. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I could be very much wrong on this, but we've had the workshop up for years now. With Steam Workshop, obviously, Steam is hosting it, and Steam says, you know, when you share something on the workshop or when you download something, you have to agree to their terms and conditions. So they're saying, be careful when you're sharing, say, like a 3D asset. Make sure it's an asset you own the rights to, i.e. you created it yourself, or you're sharing a Creative Commons, asset. When it comes to maps, i.e. maps of adventures, not very often are the maps even available. Sometimes they don't even offer a map for encounters, so you're set to make it yourself, and sometimes they offer a map, but you may not like the art style, or it's in a book you have to pull it out of, or it's kind of limited in quality digitally online, so sometimes you want to expand upon it and make your own. Personally, from my experience, I've never seen Wizards of the Coast throw a fit, or Paizo throw a fit, or cease and desist anyone for sharing maps, as long as they're not reselling these licensed maps that are their personal property. But yeah, like I definitely wouldn't put their maps in like a pack or something and be like, hey, here's the Curse of Strahd pack. You can buy it on my Patreon for subscribe, or you get it for free with my Patreon as a subscription. Something like that, probably not a good idea. You know what I mean? Whoa, what just happened? Lagged and launched over. Gonna add some lighting into these, kind of centered. Get down here, there's enough lighting spread about. Now this section needs, let's figure this out. Thinking centered on these every few. Oh no, Destiny. Honestly, I'm sorry about that. Just so you know, we do offer several streams per week, though. So we stream Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday like clockwork, same damn time, same damn channels. So every Monday and Saturday is our multi-streams on, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Steam. And then on Wednesday is a Discord exclusive stream that we host in our Discord server called Office Hours. So we host 3 streams a week to kind of give a big area of opportunity for people to attend if they want to. Every single stream is hosted AMA format, so if you have questions, we'll answer your questions. If you have feedback, I take notes on it and pass it on to the devs. If you have concerns or bugs you've found, I can take notes on that and share it as well. And it's just a fun place to hang out with like-minded map makers, cartographers, people who obviously have similar interests to you as they enjoy the Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop gaming in general. You know what I mean? Could you put up the stream schedule, Atlam? Hey, see you later, Destiny. Thank you for being here. We'll talk to you later. Okay, I think light is adequate now for all of this. I just need a few more decorations, like plant-wise, and then we'll start turning out like decor on top of the graves here. Thank you so much, Atlam. Appreciate you as always. I kind of figured today's stream would be a little light because of the holiday. It's crazy. We've actually had really decent viewership on Steam all day, but like our other platforms are a little bit slower today. So what you're asking for, Angelo, is generative prompting, and Dungeon Alchemist isn't a generative AI. It doesn't understand that stuff. It's a procedural AI, which is more like a last-gen AI. But because it has a very specific purpose in its generation, procedural generation, it tends to excel at, doing that one thing it does really well. So you can generate environments or rooms, in moments that are relatively detailed to their, to the degree of detail that a basic room should be. And you can also build by hand. So you have the best of both worlds. Hey, Dyson, how are you? Now, that being said, prompts, that's generative AI, like next-gen AI. You start running into problems with generative AI because a lot of it is unethically created. There is, in generative AI, you run into sourcing material online to train it. So art, in our case, it would be public maps if we were to do that. So Dungeon Alchemist AI, not only is it last gen, so it's procedural, at no point do we take public data sets or art or maps or assets to use in its training. So it's trained internally on our own data sets with our own art made by our own team. So at no point is it unethical. At no point do we, steal other people's work to enrich our own. We actually are very proud of that point. Now, that being said, I do understand where you're coming from. A lot of things nowadays, especially if you're generating art, you type in what you're looking for, it interprets that data and makes something. What Dungeon Alchemist will likely be is a list of data points that we have built in, i.e. the drop downs that you can choose from and then generate from that, which will get more refined and add more content over time. So it only gets better and better. That said, we are in early access, so there's a lot of development remaining. I'd say at least 2.5, 3 years of solid updates before we even consider leaving early access, but that's just me from my perspective of the development. So who knows? I do want to apologize. There was a couple follows in the last 20 minutes and I did not shout them out, so my bad. I did not notice them. I need to fix the notifications for the stream. So Glitchson and Dad is Raging, thank you so much for the follows. Much appreciated, and welcome to the Damn Fam, as we like to say around here. Yeah, John Mack has a ton of hours. That's impressive. Okay, I think it's time for decor. Let's, tiny Annabella right here in front of the statue. And now I want to put like coins and, like little things that people lay down to remember the dead. Flowers is a big one, right? Potted plants could work. You know what I hate is we have these little pots, but like not all the plants in them. Like there's only like 1 or 2 in these pots. But I guess I could just take up and put it like right there. Right? And then put a flower in it. Which flower do I want? Put a poppy in. Whoa. Whoa. What just happened? EA just like bugged out. Did y'all see that? I mean, Angelo, as far as a tutorial for how to draw a river, Not really. We haven't considered making a tutorial for that, mainly because the river generation in DA is quite excellent. That being said, if you want it over a specific area or to have a specific feel, that's why we do provide the tools to make it by hand. I'm not sure how a tutorial could teach you to make a more natural river. I think it's mostly just practice. You know what I mean? Practice does, in fact, make perfect over time. A lot of repeated, doing the same task can help. What I can recommend, though, is what I do when I'm trying to replicate a river is I'll usually download images or look for source material online, like a nice, cool river from an aerial shot or, like an angle that I can see. If it's an aerial shot, I'll import it and use it as a tracing layer. If it is just like an image, I'll have it on the side and look at it, and I'll kind of use it as a reference point. If you're interested in something like that, I mean, I could try making a tutorial for how to make a river, but I'll be honest with you, it's not something that, like, I don't know how I could. I'm just like having a hard time trying to like put into words how to make a river that looks natural. It's just something I do. You know what I mean? It's like breathing, I feel like, when I'm making a river in a map. So dang, let me feel out how I could describe how to do that. Oh, geez, John, that has to be huge. Has to be huge. Now, one thing I can say, Angelo, is if you are struggling with how to, make a river, remember the generation tools. If you're not happy with the map, let's say you generate a map, right, with a river and you're not happy with it, you can always regenerate it. So let me just show you what I mean. Let's do a forest with a river, and I'm going to generate it. Yeah, that could help. I mean, just how to stylize a river appropriately, I guess. I feel like, though, it sounds like they're trying to match the current flow to make it feel natural, because naturally rivers do make an S curve. This is a very natural, common occurrence with rivers. They make this kind of bend and flow. Rivers hardly ever go in a straight line for very long, unless they're exceptionally wide. 300 by 300 sounds insane, John. That's so cool. So if I get a river I'm not happy with. Oh, glitch. I do that all the time, especially when I'm watching other streamers play their campaigns. Or when I'm playing in a game as a player, and I'll like be in Roll20, I'll be like trying to angle the map or look at it. Oh my gosh, I hate it, because I'm so used to the functionality in DA, and when I'm in a top-down map, I always feel so kneecapped. Nine separate 100. Oh man, that's crazy. That sounds so cool. I gotta see that when you're done. Have you been sharing your progress anywhere? John, are you... Sorry, I always get names mixed up on Facebook, because there's usernames and then there's page names. Do you have another username you go by when you're making maps at all? Just been focusing on making the maps? Well, if you ever like decide to release them, I would love to explore them, even if you wouldn't want to share them publicly. If you would feel confident sharing it with me just so I could explore it, or even just show it on the stream to showcase your work. Bearsoft. Okay, yep, I knew it was... Okay, Bearsoft, gotcha. There we go. Yep, I'm aware of who you are. I was like, who is this name? I feel like I know it. So, what I was getting to is, if you're not happy with the river that you got from this environment, Go to the terrain tab, click the regenerate or change terrain tab, and then just regenerate it. So it'll keep the same size, but it'll regenerate the environment. Now we've got a river going a different direction, so it might be more partial to the map you wanted to make. But every time you regenerate, that one actually was the same. Weird. Glitch and many people in our community, map makers in our community, are selling maps as hobby income or sole income. We have no problem with that. In fact, our terms and conditions outline verbiage that covers this information. Article 4.1 of our terms and services outlines it rather astutely. But essentially, you don't need to worry about any extra licensing, commercial licensing, or anything like that until you exceed $100,000 in gross turnover with products tied to Dungeon Alchemist. So if you're making maps or modules or whatever, and you have a Patreon and you have 10,000 subscribers and pass 100,000 a year, then yeah, we'd have to talk about getting you a commercial license. But up until that point, it's not an issue. And we don't even need to worry about it until you're at that point. It's not a retroactive thing. It's essentially just to make sure that now that you have a license that reflects the amount of work and, indicative of essentially... Sorry, a commercial license allows you to keep doing what you're doing in perpetuity without issues, and it's mutually beneficial to both parties. Yeah, Article 4.1 is where you're going to be reading. There's an email in there you can reach out to if you have further questions, or you can DM me on our Discord and ask me any questions you might have. 9 times out of 10, like, all the commercial licensing stuff ends up forwarded to me. So I usually end up dealing with, onboarding and answering questions. So feel free to reach out to me and I can answer any questions or concerns you have. Did TikTok crash for anyone, or is it just me? Oh, it's back. But here's the thing. The reason we have such an open-ended commercial license program is because we're a small indie team ourselves, and we understand what it's like to be a small company trying to get out, get your feet wet and get started in this kind of crazy and competitive, a market for indie artists, right? So we know everyone that uses Dungeon Alchemist at their core is an artist, whether you're a GM making maps for your table, or you're, a Patreon creator, or you're just someone who likes to make maps for, to relax and unwind at the end of the day. Everyone is an artist in our community, and some of those artists may want to, make an income off of their maps. So we get that, and we didn't want to be a hurdle. If anything, we wanted to be a pedestal, a step to help lift you to that next level. You know what I mean? Thank you, Artful Darkness, for confirming. I appreciate it. Let's get back into my map making. Do we have any Battlefield fans in the audience? I know it's kind of a random question, especially in a tabletop gaming community, to ask if there's a Battlefield fans, but I like to ask. The Battlefield beta was just like a week or two ago, and there's been lots of information coming out about it, and I'm pretty excited for it. Harpy, it is map making. So you're looking at a tool called Dungeon Alchemist. It's a map making tool available on Steam. It allows you to build maps in a snap, or you can roll up your sleeves and build them entirely by hand, like I'm doing here. This map is quite massive. I've been building it over several months for about an hour a week on stream. And the tool allows you to build maps for your tabletop games, such as D&D or Pathfinder, or you can just make maps for fun. Think of it like Sims meets Baldur's Gate, so you're making maps in a fantasy setting. This map here is actually 85 by 82, and it's a massive ancient cemetery complex. Here you have a beautiful cathedral with a garden built around it. 3-story bell tower, little private grave site over here for like royal or like, you know, knights graves, stuff like that. Here we have kind of just a medium kind of middle class graves. Back here we have the caretaker's cottage. I see the person who manages this massive graveyard probably lives on site and is a bit of a green thumb. You can see some of the areas where they kind of manage like dirt and gravestones and potted plants, but then they also have their own garden and pond and things like that because they live here full time. So, Glitchin, that's interesting. So I played a lot of Battlefield growing up as well as Delta Force. Delta Force coming back with Black Hawk Down as a remaster was out of left field for me because Delta Force kind of died. You know, like no, they hadn't released games in years, really. So Delta Force remastering Black Hawk Down was cool because I played that a lot as a kid. It was kind of an interesting play. But Battlefield in general, I've been playing since the first game, Battlefield 1942. Absolutely love the franchise. I've played every game in the franchise so far, including Battlefield Heroes, which is kind of a outlier that most people don't really know about. Let's see here. What kind of things can I put on the graves? Let's put some coins. Because I know like soldiers do that, right? To signify that they knew the person. So maybe we could just put it on like top of the grave here. By the way, Harpy, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. It's my job to kind of answer your questions and concerns and, you know, help you along your journey, your map making journey. Honestly, Goodson, we talk about different game systems all the time here, so no worries. People will talk about the different game systems they use DA on, and it always makes me happy as the community manager to learn all the fun new ways y'all are using our product. So it doesn't bother me in the least if you have a system you play on and want to let us know about it. Sunflower is huge. Okay, what is going on with my DA? What the heck was that? Oh, it thought I clicked on cinematic mode or something? Weird. I did not. Yeah, shield would be good, and swords too. I've done a bunch of those. Trust me, I've done a lot of shields. If you come over here, like these graves, before the update launched with all these new grave add-ons, I was making graves by hand over here and just using whatever I could as a gravestone marker or decor. And it became very tedious because I was doing them all by hand. A lot of our objects tend to be oversized for scaling purposes, so they look reasonable at a top-down export, so you can understand what they are. but a lot of instances of the objects are definitely bigger than you would perceive them in a normal space. At the end of the day, it was an artistic choice to make them look better in a top-down perspective instead of so tiny you had no idea what it was. As you can see here, I've got like all sorts of random stuff on the graves and headstones. Just kind of made up whatever I could as I went. So, unfortunately, that feature is not supported by the asset importer at this time. You'd have to import different states of the model. So, you know, one that's like wood, one that's metal, one that, you know what I mean, or different object states. Currently, that's not something supported with the asset importer. A few things that are, though, if it has a light built into it, the lighting state of it can be altered. You can disable the light, i.e. if like a token's holding a torch, you can enable it or disable the light coming from it and change the light filter to different light colors. If the object has animation states, i.e. a single animation or multiple, you can cycle between them. If it's just one animation, it's a play pause button. If it's multiples, it cycles between them. EK, I'm not sure what you mean, man. There is no AI slop in Dungeon Alchemist whatsoever. In fact, if you'd like to know about Dungeon Alchemist, I can educate you on it instead of just throwing out random accusations that are false and aren't like actually viable or pertinent to this stream. Dungeon Alchemist is made by an indie team of developers. It uses last generation AI, i.e. procedural AI. There's no generative AI anywhere near this product. All of the assets and the development was done entirely in-house by our team of talented artists and developers. There is zero data or art scraped from the internet or anywhere else to train our AI or develop it. So at no point in time were any public art, data sets, maps, or anything like that used to train our in-house AI. So you have a team of talented artists and developers working hand in hand, creating a tool that allows you to generate maps in a snap using our procedural in-house AI, or you can build the map entirely by hand, which is no different than any other map maker out there. So please continue calling anything with the AI tag tied to it slop, like an uninformed, you know. Honestly, I just really dislike that sometimes because lumping all AIs together is silly and a bit obtuse. At no point are we ever like Midjourney or ChatGPT. At no ethical concerns here with the development or sourcing of our, you know, training for our AI. And not all AI are created equally. You use AI every day in your life and probably don't even realize it. You ever been at a traffic light, done some banking, traded stocks? AI is a big part of everything. What was your question, Glitch? You can call me Mac. Bald man works, though. I guess I just get frustrated because a lot of people just want to just say AI slop and don't even take 2 seconds to research our product to understand what it entails before they do that. Does that make sense? Lumping us into a category like that is frustrating. Oh, it's irritating. And I love educating our community on AI, you know, and I'm sorry if I got a little emotional there, but it's frustrating when they just say something and disappear and don't even give us a second to explain at all or even try to understand it. They just get defensive themselves first and emotional themselves before even looking into us or trying to understand it. Yeah, our company, we definitely started stepping away from the AI term in our branding and stuff as ChatGPT and Midjourney started becoming more mainstream, and there was a lot of concerns about it because by comparison, Dungeon Alchemist's AI isn't anything like that. So it's a completely different ballgame. I do hate how the word has been tainted when honestly, like, yeah, if you're talking about like Skynet, definitely don't like AI, right? If AI is used to replace jobs or steal art, I don't like it at all. That's unethical. That's fucked up. Straightforward. That's a company stance. We do not agree with AI companies stealing art or data to train their AI. It's messed up and we don't approve of it. We don't do it ourselves. So AI can be used very ethically and in very cool ways every day. Like there was an AI used to help observe different x-rays that are given, and it can locate problems such as tumors or cancers like a million times faster than a doctor could, and it locates them much more accurately and better. So it not like using that way, I think, yeah, that's a great way to use AI. Water Choo Choo, it is a map making tool and immersion utility for games like D&D. Yes. So essentially it allows you to build very intricate, detailed maps that are perfect for your encounters. Or you can browse the repository of maps shared by our community. There's almost 12,500 maps available. Some of them are right out of popular, modules that you might recognize. Others are built entirely by hand as a homebrew. So the tool is called Dungeon Alchemist Water Choo Choo. You can find a link on our profile that goes to our webpage, or you can locate us on Steam by searching Dungeon Alchemist. And it's a map making utility that you can either generate entire environments and rooms with a few clicks, or you can build everything by hand, like I like to do. I prefer to build everything by hand. So this map here is a massive cemetery complex that I've been building for about an hour a week on stream over the course of like 6 to 8 months, I feel like. It's been a long time, but it's only a little bit each week. But we offer a free demo, Choo Choo. You could go download it on Steam, kind of try it out, see how it works on your computer. It'll allow you to test out the forest biome, which is only one of 12 biomes, and then you get access to the object and room set for building a tavern. And then you can export it for print or as a digital file to use on like a TV tabletop or a projector tabletop. Alternatively, we offer exports that support Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, etc. If you have any questions, let me know. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. This is our official channel here on TikTok. In fact, every stream we're live on right now is our official channel. So we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Steam. If you have any questions, let us know. We're here to provide you support and guidance. Glitch, and I appreciate you understanding my perspective too. It is frustrating, as the community manager, getting pelted with stuff like this that's like clearly not have anything to do with us. You know what I mean? Knowledge is power, but hiding knowledge is unethical. I will say this, knowledge is power, but not all knowledge is worth knowing. Some of it is just things I'd be happier not knowing. You know what I mean? Wisdom is power if you're a cleric. Correct. How could I forget about our clerics? I know, but I do worry. Bane. Bane. I swear, I know we're kindred spirits. You make me laugh too much, man. Appreciate you as you know, a long-term supporter of our community. You know, technically by D&D standards, though, there's no difference between, you know, 150 HP and 1 HP. Oh my gosh. And it's kind of lazy. Some companies are starting to use AI for everything and they don't even proofread it. Like, if you're going to use AI, at least proofread it, you know? Like, goodness. Man, have you seen some of the, like, you know, remember a few years ago when like all the mobile ads were coming out and it would be like, you'd see like a famous person in a mobile ad for a game like Total War, right? That was the ad slop of the era. And now our ad slop is just all AI. And it's so sad because it'll look like, you look at the image and they didn't even look at it to see like that the person looks human at all. Like they look like an uncanny valley. It's sad. Like, take 2 seconds and like look at your, have some pride in your brand. If you're going to use AI, like at least look over it and proofread it. You know what I mean? That's all I got to say. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. Dead internet theory is real. It is very real. Honestly, I've just stopped trying to like even debate with people online because I'm starting to feel like a lot of them are bots arguing with me. What other things can I put on here? I just want to put little tools and items to make it seem like, oh, this person did this thing. Let's do a blacksmith hammer on that one. I don't know. It's just like getting in an argument with an internet stranger at the end of the day is not worth your time or your energy. You're never going to see that person or meet them unless they border on like crazy and they come stalk you for it, you know? So just no, don't waste your energy arguing with internet strangers. It's not worth it. Don't feed the trolls. And I can learn from my own example there. Obviously, I got a little tilted over the AI slop comment, but it's like, because I love Dungeon Alchemist, I defend our brand because it is a good company. I love working for this company. I appreciate how they treat me as an individual. I love how they respect my opinion and let me run kind of the show over here. And not to mention, they have an ethical standpoint on how they treat employees, but also how they develop their product. So I don't know. I've worked for some companies that did some really weird, unethical stuff, and I am so glad to be beyond that now. You know what? I think using AI as like a proofreader to go over your code isn't a bad thing, okay? Like to go over and supplement your coding and stuff, not a bad thing. I personally, like, I use AI sometimes, but to proofread documents that I type, because I'm a one-man show. So I'll type everything out and then I run it through for grammar and for, you know, punctuation and spelling, just in case I miss something, because You know, I was raised in the American education system, so there are some flaws in my education. Let's just say that. So, I will use it as a tool for proofreading, kind of like spell checking, essentially. Right, Inani? Like, I feel like we kind of stand out for that reason. You know what I mean? Like, we offer a third space for our community to hang out and get to know each other, learn our product. We provide free support, you know, pretty much 24 hours a day in several locations. We get to know our community members and understand their concerns and needs as map makers and DMs. Not to mention, we adapt to your concerns. If you have an idea or an issue with how Dungeon Alchemist is being developed, we usually will rapidly adapt to that. The stairs is a great example of this. Just a few weeks ago, after our update launch, there was a lot of concern about how the stairs were adjusted in the new update, and the devs took that feedback to heart and made adjustments. Personally, I think going forward, people will be wanting to deal with a company that's more personable and less like mainstream, and, you know, less automation means more personable experience, i.e. you deal with a person, you talk to them, they understand your plight and listen to you and want to help you. It is what it is. Well, we're glad to hear it. Honestly, we were upset that we ruined map making experience for people, or people's workflow was getting interrupted. So the devs were very happy to make the changes and make your map making experience, you know, more normal. Gonna be here a while. Of course, Dagbot shows up. How you doing, Dag? What's up, buddy? Hope you're well, my friend. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. He's just happy now that he's here torturing me. His day is about to be made. Hey, where's the label on this? Am I crazy, or is the label not there? Well, no label here. Label there. Let me report this really quick. Is it, hold on, before I... Oh, nope, the different one had the label. Okay, it's an app. Oh, nope, it's a... I know it. No, that's not a bug. This is a variant. Look, when I hit tab, watch what happens. It cycles between different variations of itself. Did not realize that was a variant. My bad. Thought it was a bug. It is a variant, Montero. You're right. It is a variant. Correct. I thought it was bugged out for a moment. That's all. Got a few drunks in this aisle. That's usually what it is, Glitchin. Usually like an armchair analyst, or like it's like an emotional reaction just to seeing the term AI and assuming it's just like everything else. Though education is important, so anytime it comes up, I like to educate the viewers and let them know. I appreciate it, Lex. You know, honestly, I worry about putting that much time into a map. Like, I worry that the devs might be like, man, you're kind of putting a lot of time into this map. But at the same time, so many people get to tune in and see this map evolve and learn from it. You know what I mean? And a cemetery is a big concept in tabletop gaming. It's going to come up at least once in your campaign, right? So knowing how to effectively build a cemetery from different aspects and points and angles, make it look believable and, you know, well used, right? Like old. That's what I'm going for. I wanted it to feel like a European cemetery or a New Orleans cemetery, something that has been around a long time and a lot of style has come and gone while it's been there. Should I put some weeds on these, like it's been overgrown, like someone hasn't cared for it in a while? I could just put some of like this Sasarum kind of growing out of it, like it's just been ignored. And the thing is I do this for the people in our community who may be fledgling map makers who want to learn advanced techniques, you know, ways to add detail to their maps. I prefer building by hand because I like the end result. It ends up feeling like I put in a lot of effort and it's my map. You know what I mean? I'm the artist here. Put a little bit of ivy on one of them too. Do this one here. Man, I really hate that we can't just resize ivy. What I'll do is the wall trick. You didn't see this here, but if you place a wall, right? And snap ivy to said wall, right? Now don't do this at home. You didn't see me teaching you this. But if you resize the wall while the ivy's on it, resizes the ivy. Even though ivy itself cannot be resized normally. Weird, right? The weirdest thing. Anyway, hopefully that helps you in your map making endeavors. Illegal DA activities detected. We need to release the Ivy campaign now, right, Anani? Toastig, I see you lurking. How you doing, buddy? Thank you for the share. What's new with you? How's your streams been? Okay, do we have enough random offerings? I think I'm going to do more coins. Coins, man, we need more denomination in coins. Just gold? Come on, can we get some copper or some silver? I am wonderful. Had a very productive weekend. this last week and a half or so, I built a workshop in my garage. And I started work on some storage racks for those like 27-gallon totes, you know, the black ones with the yellow lids. So I'm building a little rolling storage rack for those because I have them all over my house in closets and random places. They're just taking up too much space. Have any of you watched like Animatrix at all? Like the kind of follow up to the Matrix that shows kind of some of the story before humanity fell and then like after a little bit as well. So the Animatrix shows a story of how like humanity became very, very vitriol towards like robots and AI, right? And they became like essentially separate countries. The AI ran its own country and was very effective at like trading on the stock market and manufacturing. It essentially was dwarfing all human manufacturing and trading within a handful of years. And it sent the human economy into a downward spiral. And then there were wars that happened as a result of which. Honestly, that and like Terminator future, I feel like we're kind of getting close to that in the way we're heading, where like, it's just a bunch of tech bros pushing AI they're trying to get it with no restrictions or oversight. And the problem is AI adapts over so quick where our governments are really slow. Bureaucracy is hella slow. So it takes a long time for like laws and bureaucracy to catch up with all these new tech and things coming out. And as a result of which, I feel like we're kind of putting ourselves in a position where we could have some of these scenarios where the AI, you know, isn't happy with us or is competitive towards us or outperforms us. What we do have, Glitchin, is the object painting tool. So you can go in, say, grab this coin, right? Select it, and then you go to the object painting tool, and then you can create a brush from that object. And then it has like a basic scattering and density. But for this particular use, I'm probably just going to do it by hand because it puts it everywhere, even at the most minimum. And it's just not as much control. It's more for like scatter shot instead of scattering. Oh, iRobot the same. Yes. Also another show or a movie that kind of has a similar vein, but less AI. What was it? There was a comic, like a adult comic book or whatever, or like it was like, you know, like a manga. And then there was a movie about it with Bruce Willis, but the movie was awful. But essentially people would be inside of robots, like avatars that they control. So no one was living in their like real body anymore. And it was really creepy. So like all the police, all the military were like in these robot bodies, like avatars that they would control. Anyway, we're kind of heading towards definitely a Black Mirror future for sure at the moment. It's getting kind of scary. Surrogate, that's the movie. Thank you, Artful Darkness. Yes, oh my gosh. How? Don't even get me started on Hal. Hal is like the originating source of terrifying AI. That is the movie though. Yep, you're right. Surrogate is correct. I think you misunderstood me there, Angelo. Actually, Dungeon Alchemist, once it's officially released, will leave early access. So right now, we're in early access while we deliver on all the stretch goal promises from our Kickstarter. So Dungeon Alchemist was realized as a Kickstarter, and there were numerous stretch goals during that Kickstarter campaign. Each one of those stretch goals were like, you know, different kind of tiers of the funding that we hit. And those are all of the updates for Dungeon Alchemist. Each one of those stretch goals has been realized as an update. So right now at our current stage in development, there's only 4.5 stretch goals remaining. Part 2 of Fun with Objects. And then in no particular order after this, you have Fun with objects, tricks and traps, or not fun with objects, sorry. Water worlds, tricks and traps, high seas, and instant dungeons. Those 4 updates, I've been told by the devs, once we've delivered on all our updates, we'll leave early access, and then that will push us into a full release. After we have full release, we'll still offer, patches, quality of life improvements, hot fixes, and then we still plan to expand upon Dungeon Alchemist, object packs, things like that. But there will be, at some point down the road, optional expansions for Dungeon Alchemist to bring it into other aesthetics. So a lot of people ask, hey, are you going to do sci-fi objects or modern objects, or will you ever offer cyberpunk or whatever? Because I love your map making tool, but I play in a cyberpunk, game setting, but that doesn't help really with Dungeon Alchemists, right? So in the future, we plan to offer optional expansions that would basically be an add-on to Dungeon Alchemist that would plug into the existing data set, all the rooms and objects and walls, windows, doors, but it would add new, say, cyberpunk themed rooms, objects, doors, windows, walls, floors, maybe even tokens, and environments, biomes that are themed around that aesthetic. So you can generate environments or rooms using the Dungeon Alchemist tool as an interface for those, types of aesthetics. That is quite a ways down the road. I'm guessing 2 to 3 years minimum. But that is a possibility. Toastig, our AI was developed entirely in-house, using private data sets and our own art and maps. So at no point was any public data, art, assets, or data sets, anything like that used in the development of our AI. So not only is it an ethically developed and sourced AI, it's also not comparative to like most modern AIs like ChatGPT or Midjourney or DALL-E. We're not a generative AI, we're a last gen procedural AI. In fact, our devs have kind of called our AI a dumb AI by comparison. But because the Dungeon Alchemist procedural AI has a very specific focus, i.e. room generation and maps, environments, it excels in it. We have fine-tuned the data sets and the room generation, and it gets better and better with each update. And it's crazy because right now our AI is actually not updated to reflect all the new objects in this current update. They're fine-tuning it behind the scenes for Fun with Objects Part 2. So the update, Fun with Objects Part 2, will come with a huge refinement to our AI. But yeah, anytime you hear us talking about AI, it's last-gen procedural AI developed entirely in-house. All the art, all the maps were created by our talented team of artists. At no point were any public data or assets or art used in the training of the AI. Hey, Angela. Well, welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're here today. Honestly, the streams are kind of just a fun place for our community to hang out, get to know like-minded map makers and GMs, but also get real-time support. And I like to think of this space as a third space. You don't hear that term very much anymore because they're kind of disappearing. A free space you can go and just hang out without the expectation of having to pay money or have a subscription, or you know what I mean? So essentially, all of our streams are a place where our community members can come hang out, share ideas with each other, bounce ideas for their encounters, maps, homebrew. So imagine like a hive mind of like-minded GMs you can come in and bounce ideas off of and get support and feedback, as well as come in and learn tons about map making and just chill out, Yeah, you're talking about Donjon, Glitchin. And by the way, Donjon maps, their dungeon generator, are directly compatible with our tracing layer. I worked with the Donjon developer to make sure that it matches 1-for-1, and they made some changes to their generator that when you generate a map on their website, not only does it show the width by height in the information that you download, but also in the information when you generate it. So as long as you know the width by height of the map, you can go into DA, set the map as the same width by height, and when you import the map as a tracing layer, a Donjon map will be a 1-to-1 trace, as long as it's the same size. When our dungeon generator comes out, I don't think it'll be like Donjon, really. It'll use all the assets and biomes available in DA, and then you'll kind of guide it through the drop downs and tell it what you want, and then it'll generate the entire environment. So the thing about that, Toastig, is that's generative AI talk. And because we're not generative AI, you can't give it prompts. The AI we have is too dumb to understand that content, that context. It's essentially a limited AI that has instead of putting in prompts, you have drop downs that are directly feeded into the options it has available. It's funny. We get people all the time. They're like, I'm so glad you're not like an unethical AI, but also I want prompts. It's nothing against you, Toasting. Honestly, today we've had a lot of AI talk on the stream. There's been a lot of people coming in asking about it. About 20 minutes before you came in, someone came in and called us AI slop, which just kind of made me laugh because at no point is our AI slop, and you can build everything by hand. The map I'm making on stream is by hand, so there's no AI involved. It just made me laugh. You know what I mean? So today has been kind of heavy AI discussion. But yeah, there's a distinct difference between procedural AI, which is like last gen or dumb AI, to say current gen or generative AI. Generative AI has prompts. The AI understands the phrases and letters as tokens, and those tokens are then converted into something you ask for. Whereas I mean, technically, that's how our map generation is now, right now, Toastig. When you generate a new map in Dungeon Alchemist, it is essentially a series of drop downs that you can choose from. You could say, hey, is it digital? Is it printed? Is it the size you want? Is it particular biome? And then lastly, elevation, vegetation, river, weather. We plan to add more weather options, more of these options with time. So we'll get more advanced. So right now, a single river may evolve into multiple rivers intersecting, or something like that. Or lakeside might be island on lakeside. It might expand with time, but it'll continue being like these drop downs. I don't think it'll ever be a prompt based. I'm not against it. I just, from my understanding, is prompt based, like map making is almost exclusively tied to generative tools. So if it does happen in the future, it likely would be, something completely different than that, or, at least named different and sounding different while have a similar feel. Hey. Yeah. Toastig, feel free to message me, man. We'll talk. Do you use Discord by chance, Toastig? Our DMs on TikTok are sporadic. I sometimes get notifications for them, sometimes don't. I don't know what it is. It might be like our business account or something has weirdness. But if you have Discord, if you could message me there, I respond pretty much regularly. Otherwise, if I don't respond right away on a TikTok DM, just know that it's not I'm ignoring you. Perfect. Feel free to DM me on Discord and I'll get back to you. Hey, see you later, Toastic. Have a good one. I need to just keep decorating and not get distracted. Let's put some utility items here. How about a sword? Or like a weapon laying flat? Like a dagger. And we can even put a shield up against the head of this one. Hey, see you later, Glitchin. It was nice hanging out with you. You're welcome back anytime. Enjoy your meeting. Stream is about to wrap up anyhow. We should be ending here. 11. It's time to end the stream. Which one am I in the Discord? I am Mac, Community Manager. You should see me listed under the development team right now as live. All right, everyone. I actually do have to wrap up the stream. Package just showed up. Gotta go grab it before it gets swiped. Basically, every minute I leave a package on my porch, there's an exponential chance it'll disappear. Our neighborhood is full of porch pirates. They sometimes follow the delivery people and steal it. So, unfortunately, gotta wrap up the stream at the exact time we planned, which is 11 a.m. Thank you so much for being here. All of you are amazing. Appreciate you supporting the stream, whether you were actively chatting, answering questions, support, whether you were moderating, or you were active, or you were a lurker today, hanging out and just kind of listening and watching from the sidelines. Thank you, everyone, for participating and supporting these community initiatives. Our next stream is Wednesday with office hours. That is hosted exclusively in our Discord. It's 2 hours, roughly 2.5 hours. It runs from 10 a.m. Pacific, that's 1 p.m. Eastern, or 5 p.m. UTC until about 12 p.m. Pacific. If you're not a member of our Discord, definitely highly recommend joining our Discord. You can get support there 24 hours a day from myself, other staff members, moderators, or even community members who know the program very well. You can see the latest and greatest information in our development. If we have any new teasers or upcoming events, we'll share them there first. Anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in for Mapmaker Monday. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Mac out. Bye. Thank you for being here. Have an enjoyable week. We'll see you Wednesday, and if not Wednesday, Saturday. With the Damn Challenge. Quick reminder, Damn Challenge theme is garden. You have between now end of day on the 5th to submit your entries to the Damn Challenge channel. See you later. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.